Hey, welcome back, viewer. I'm Sean, and this is Sean Turns Up the Volume. Today I wanted to talk about a story that's been in the news concerning a man who, in Michigan, who he had a building on his property. I think it was a garage or something that was being broken into by like 7 teens, and he ended up firing some shots through the door and killed one of them and hit another one of them as they were running away. And so I want to talk about that.
Fatally shot a teen who broke into his garage and is now facing a manslaughter rap, sparking controversy over the state's Stand Your Ground law. Savon Wilson, 17, was with 6 other mainly teenagers when the group broke into Dayton Napton's garage in White Lake shortly after 1 a.m. on July 8th. Napton.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So I'm gonna offer some sage wisdom here from a life of avoiding crime and trying to do the right thing. By no means a perfect life, just as nobody's perfect. But I've always generally tried to obey authorities and obey the law and that kind of stuff. So my sage wisdom, first of all, is that if you don't break in to other people's property, and you won't get shot. Okay, that's the first thing that comes to mind. If you don't want to get shot, don't break in. Don't try to steal from people. Don't break into their property. Don't commit crimes, and your likelihood of meeting dangerous or deadly consequences is going to go way down. So yeah, it makes me go like, how the heck did you get, how'd you get like 6 other people? Well, for one, just to like hang out at one time. I guess that's easier and when you're in like high school or college or something. But you're just gathering the people together. There's these news stories and videos where you see like dozens of people or dozens of teens like robbing gas stations.
Whatever they can get their hands on. Can anything be done to stop these crimes? Eyewitness News.
Hiding behind their faces behind masks and hoodies, this flash mob of bike-riding robbers caught on video ransacking a Chevron food mart. And this is just the latest in a series of similar
robbing stores or gathering in mass, like even in hundreds. And
sir, you can see 2 young girls with boxing gloves on. Now, you can see this kind of narrate out just a little bit. Now, a group of those people walked right inside the store and started stealing beer from the fridge. And in the video, you can see one
and gathering and getting into fights and things like outside of malls.
A massive brawl in the mall food court eventually turned into riots in the street. Punches thrown, a group of girls seen kicking someone on the ground.
Well, people getting dragged around like rag dolls.
This is just part of the video captured at a Roselawn McDonald's, showing a large crowd of what appears to be teenagers fighting in the drive-thru.
You hear about these things like, and it's hard enough to get a few friends together to hang out. How do you get like tons of them? How do you get like dozens of people or hundreds of people to just like gather at a space? I don't even get like that part of it. But then there's like the next level of that. There's crime being involved here. So like in this news story, then that means that like what 6, 7 of these teens decided collectively to go and break into a property, to go break into a place, to go and commit crime together. In the case of like gas stations being raided or stores being raided by tons of people, like again, there's this craziness you see it with like riots and stuff too, that there's like a whole segment of society that is willing at the drop of a hat, I guess, to commit crimes. Like, they don't care. They'll violate the rights of a store. They'll violate the rights of someone's property, or their home. Like, they don't care. It's like, what is going on in these conversations or these text threads? Like, hey, want to go rob a place tonight? Like, hey, want to go like trash a gas station store? You're like, hey, is this like a Facebook group? And it's like, hey, gonna go mob whatever store at this day and time. Like, how? And then people do it. Like here's some insight and wisdom for the internet. If your friend suggests going and committing a crime, like, you say no. You say no. You go, that's a dumb idea. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's not do that. Like that. What? Like, you can even take it further. Like, why would you think that's a good idea? Why would you think that it's a good idea to go break into somebody else's property? You could take the question that far. You could do some self-reflection and go like, maybe these aren't the people I should be hanging out with. Maybe these aren't really my friends. Maybe if somebody is suggesting committing a crime with them, they're not the wisest person to be around. They're not the most moral person to be around. Maybe their antics could get me into trouble myself. Like, these would be some good reflective thoughts to have. I know this is really deep.
That is not appropriate behavior, okay?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mackey.
And I'm sure I'm not the only person on the internet pointing this out, right? Like, and so, okay, other thoughts that I have. The person in this story, the homeowner, is being charged with manslaughter right now, and it's like a circumstance that's working against him is that he fired shots through the door. He fired some additional shots, maybe as they were running away, I guess. And so he hit one of them, killed one of them. Another one was, I think, shot in the leg. And so on his part, he shot not knowing what was on the other side of the door. It's always dangerous, like, to shoot and you don't know what's on the other side of where your bullet's gonna go. Especially as just civilian gun owners, as just regular people, we're held to a very high account. Wherever your bullets are gonna go, you're accountable for those shots. You don't have an organization like with policing. You don't have like an organization that and policies, legal protections that might mitigate that. You're very responsible. If you're going to shoot, know what that backstop is. Know what you're shooting at. Know what's behind it. You could be legally accountable for whatever's coming out the barrel of your gun. And so he was certainly, it's not a good idea to shoot through a door, to shoot at where you don't know where the bullets are going. Now, at the same time, the criminals, these teen criminals, they created the circumstance by which the homeowner is put in this position. There are laws where if you're in the commission of a crime and one of your fellow criminals gets killed, that it actually falls on you, the criminal, as an extra charge on you because you've created the situation of the risk. The guy who's sitting at home minding his own business, trying to live his life, did not create the situation of of, oh, now I gotta blast somebody. Like, it is the teens breaking in. It is the burglar. It is the robber. It is the criminal that creates that situation. Likewise, as regular people, we don't go through like training and practice of like how to deal with break-ins occurring. Like, there's not like a process you go through so that you can be like very calm, clear-headed, self-regulated. You don't know how you're going to be in that situation, potentially, to some degree. You can practice with your weapon. You can be very familiar with it. You can have a game plan in mind, maybe. More proactive people might have a game plan. How are they going to respond? But when it comes down to it, criminals can strike at random times. You don't expect it, and you're acting out of just whatever your best judgment is going to be in that moment. And so they create a situation by which, because of their own actions breaking in, they get one of them killed and another one of them injured, whereby if they hadn't been breaking in, then they wouldn't have been in that situation. They wouldn't have provoked that violent response by being there. You stay out of people's property, you stay out of other people's buildings, you leave other people's stuff alone, then you're not going to prompt a response. And they created this situation, and it forces then a regular person into that situation to respond to it. And then there's like more layers here, because then the left-wing oppressed, let's say, judges, courts, DAs, the people who make up the justice system in Michigan. I don't know how many of them would be left-leaning, but given Michigan politics, probably a fair amount. But those liberal-leaning people are going to politically side with criminals more. They're going to be against self-defense shooting. They're going to be against gun ownership, blame the gun owner. They're going to, especially, I can't remember, but I think that the teens were minorities as well, but you fact-checked me on that. I don't remember. I have to look it up. But so, of course, if you've got any diversity, intersectionality components involved, then like that's another factor of victimhood, of the criminal being the victim. And so there's politics involved in this. By charging and going after the homeowner, you're signaling to other homeowners, don't defend yourself, don't defend your property. Like, you use a gun to defend yourself when you're put in a scary situation, then you better hesitate more, because you may be the one going to jail for it instead. They commit a crime against you, you respond, and you might be the one that's getting thrown into years of prison for it and have your life ruined when you're just trying to lawfully go about your life. So it works towards inhibiting that, which is certainly a political goal of the left, to discourage people from using their Second Amendment rights, to discourage people from dealing out consequences in the moment like that, because the left hates consequences. They hate personal responsibility. And so to defend yourself, to shoot someone who's committing a crime against you, is to hold that person, in a sense, to like the highest account. It's black and white in that way. Now, of course, this was not a clear-cut self-defense sort of case. This is definitely more murky, to have shot through the door, to have not been immediately in threat. But certainly 7 people, like breaking into your property and confronting them, that has the potential to absolutely be a dangerous and life-threatening situation, for sure. And this is another case for why the left has no business and certainly no constitutional authority to be regulating what kind of guns we have, what kind of magazine capacity we have. Those kind of laws are just BS, and yeah, that's its own rabbit hole. But when the courts go after the people who defend themselves, they're trying to make an example of them. And then the flip side is the example is the messaging to the criminal that reinforces that the Justice Department, whatever, will side with you, will view you as a victim if you're the one committing the crimes. It reinforces it. This is like reinforcement 101. You're incentivizing it. The kind of language used to go after the victim of a crime rather than the one who's the actual criminal is going to incentivize that. It's going to produce more of that in society. So this will reinforce that, and this has been a process of that being reinforced. The left, the left, out of their Marxist motives, have been intentionally soft on crime. They view criminals as victims of society and oppression, and so it's the system's fault. They view the punishments, like Mamdani being against prison.
Are prisons obsolete?
Whew, coming through with the quotes, through with the titles of the books. I have to read that, actually. I haven't read that as yet. But I think that, frankly, I mean, what purpose do they serve? Right? I think we have to ask ourselves that, which is that, I think are set up in our society. I would argue that they do not work. They do not make us safer. Instinct is to just take that person, the source of that harm, the source of that issue, and then just throw them away. Put them in a cage and throw away the key. And that doesn't address the reason why that harm was created in the first place. A lot of times, people who create trauma for others are those who themselves went through trauma earlier in their own lives. Right. And I bring all of this up to say that, again, like when we talk about policing, I don't think the system actually makes us safer. I think
they view punishment as being something that that is part of the problem. So they message this. This is how they rule in their courtrooms, as they drop weapons charges when out the other side of their mouth they talk about gun control. They give criminals, repeat offenders, slaps on the wrist. They're telling the youth. They're telling the anybody who would be inclined to think more than a second about doing crime, because there's people out there for whom there's not a bone in their body that's going to be inclined towards thieving, stealing, breaking in, things like that. But there's plenty of people who need to know, yeah, there's a law against that. Yeah, that law will be reinforced. That law will be upheld, and you're going to get a really unpleasant punishment if you do that. Society needs to know that. People need to know that. These teens need to know that. They need to know that from the justice system, from the system, the Michigan justice system, from the federal justice system, and they need to know that from their own parents. The left destroys families once through the sexual revolution. Once people just having sex, making babies, no accountability, get a bunch of single motherhood, the poverty that goes with it, the lack of father figures, degradation of society and morality, like all of this leftist stuff all goes together, and then it produces this kind of thing. So the kids, these teens, aren't getting the instruction at home probably to convey a strong moral structure into their lives, strong moral character, and respect for the rights of others. I'm almost certainly not getting that. Not getting it probably culturally as well. Not seeing that coming down from the justice system. Not seeing, oh, if we commit a crime, somebody comes up with the stupid idea of let's go break into somebody's property, and 6 other teens should have gone in this situation. Like, are you crazy? No, you'll get shot, and then you'll get arrested, and you'll get thrown into prison for years of your life, and it will be miserable and ruin your life. No, let's not break into a place. Like, and you'll disappoint. No, that would disappoint my parents. No, that would bring like shame on me. No, like that's a crazy idea. Let's play video games. Let's just hang out and not commit crimes. Like, instead, they see just take what you want. They get told that they're victims, maybe if they were a minority, that they're an oppressed class. The social workers of the world, the leftists. Well, I'm referencing a Steven Crowder video, because he just did a debate with a social worker who says, well, how can you steal if the land that's on is stolen? There's this message of, well, just you can't have something stolen from you because you're on stolen land. Like, this is.
Unfortunately, you've just asked me like 3 questions. Okay. Which one would you like to answer?
Who should be deported, and how should we do it?
My question would be, who can be illegal on stolen land?
Oh, okay. So you're saying that no one is here legally?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. No.
Oh, just you can't have something stolen from you because you're on stolen land. Like, this is an insane position, and yet this is being and has been mainstreamed on the left. This is more Marxist critical theory crap. And then, I mean, that's like straight like communist manifesto. It's like, well, the bourgeois capitalists stole it anyway, and so you're just getting back what's yours. And so all the messaging from the left, the lack of responsibility, the blame being extended at anywhere else, the weak or non-existent punishments. People commit crimes and get put out. They get released same day, maybe given an ankle monitor, and they can rack up more crimes after that and keep getting a slap on the wrist, because of woke judges that think that holding people accountable and punishing them is wrong, at least if they're in a victim class. It's insane. And it produces this kind of situation. This is an anarcho tyranny, because they convey messages that support anarchy, lawlessness. They let people off, they let people out, they tell them it's not their fault. It produces more crime, it produces more violence, it produces more bad things in the culture. But then they also, when they're in the positions of power, when the leftists are in the position of power, then they also get to be the ones to decide who will they charge, who will they go after. They can go after the gun owner, they can go after the homeowner. They can make your life miserable. The process itself can be the punishment, even if a jury doesn't convict. They could ruin your life anyway. And so you've got the tyranny side of it, of the law being applied however they want it to be. And of course, then people beg for more control, more government intervention, because of the lawlessness that's going on. So those are some thoughts on that. I'll put a video up with this, and yeah, please like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing, and I'll see you next time.